Bruyne considers his future. Liverpool want a cheaper Koulibaly deal. Ndombele could be on his way out. Premier League teams have one condition and a transfer roundup all coming up in the next few minutes. As I'm your host, Matt Froelich, you are the Onefootballers, and this is the Daily News. First up, and Kevin De Bruyne has reportedly said he will be considering his Manchester City future if they do get the 2-year European ban. Now, funnily enough, we did a video on 5 players who could potentially leave Manchester City right here, and we discussed Kevin De Bruyne as one of those who could be leaving. Now, as to where he'll end up, to me, it only seems reasonable he'll end up at Real Madrid. They're the ones who are going to pay stupid money for him. I'm not necessarily sure he'd be interested in going anywhere else, and just seems like a pretty good fit. For those of you who are going to write in the comment section that he could move to Liverpool, yes, he'd be brilliant at Liverpool and they'd be much better with him, but I can hardly see, given their rivalry in the last few seasons, him swapping the Etihad for Anfield. Anyway, he did go on to say that although there is a 2-year ban looming over his current club, he believes that if it was just 1 year, he may actually consider staying, and that he does currently believe that his team have got everything right and that the truth will come out. Looks like he's playing a bit of a risky waiting game, if you ask me. We all know these things are going for and it'll be one of these that they'll be like 2 weeks before the season, and then suddenly City will be banned and he won't have time to move, or something crazy like that. Along with Kevin De Bruyne, though, if City do have this 2-year ban, I think there could be quite a few more players leaving. And yeah, as I mentioned earlier, go ahead and check out that video. But moving on, and talking of Liverpool, actually, they're trying in quite a bizarre way to get a cheaper deal for Koulibaly. Now, apparently Napoli will not budge on their €89 million price tag for the Senegalese defender. That's fair enough. I mean, he's widely considered to be, let's say, at least in the top 5 centre-halves in the world at the moment, so they're going to want a pretty big price for him. So what's Liverpool's cunning, genius plan to lower the price? They're offering Dejan Lovren in return. I mean, surely Lovren is one of these players where literally in like the next year or so, he'll go for a free, or maybe a team will bid like 5 million for him, 10 million? And he's going to be leaving. Such is his rapid decline, not only on the field, but his reputation as well, that I can't see Napoli being like, sure, we're going to sell one of our biggest defenders for less money and take Lovren in return, who's not even going to have any sell-on price, right? And it's only going to go down, as mentioned, in his transfer market value and his performance in the next few years, given the fact he's already like 32, I think. I'm not so sure this will be a great deal for Napoli, and I really can't see it happening. They've got Koulibaly on a long-term contract. They might as well sit there, demand the fee. If anyone pays it, happy days. And if they don't, they've still got a quality defender on their hands. But next up, and to Ndombele, and there's been so many conflicting reports over this weekend and the last few weeks about whether or not he'll be leaving Tottenham. Now, there were reports that Barcelona had their eye on him. For some reason, if they watch his performance this season, I don't know why, but they just do. Ndombele has vowed to stay and fight for his place in the Tottenham squad, but it looks like the hierarchy may have already grown tired of him and they want to recoup all the 54 million that they paid for him. Now, this, much like the Lovren Koulibaly deal, could strike a chord with Barcelona, who apparently are willing to get rid of Ivan Rakitic. And Spurs are interested. Who would have thought? It's like someone wrote this script themselves. Anyway, Rakitic out of the club would be good for Barca. He'd be a great fit at Spurs. Ndombele out of the club may not be the best fit for Spurs, but would definitely excel at Barcelona, in my opinion. So maybe they could, lower the transfer value a little bit if they were to get Rakitic in return. That's Spurs, that is. But the more important thing for me is that it looks like they're deciding to back Jose Mourinho ahead of Ndombele. So Mourinho has come out this season and said that he's not happy with Ndombele. He's questioned his fitness and his work ethic. If they're willing to get rid of a midfielder who clearly has an abundance of talent, otherwise they wouldn't have paid 54 million for him last summer, and you've seen it at times on the pitch, has years to grow into the Premier League, has a lot of time to get fitter and become a top player. If they're sacrificing all of that for Jose Mourinho's point of view, which is he can't work with the player, they're clearly backing Mourinho to be there for a longer time than Ndombele. If anyone's seen Mourinho in recent years, that's definitely not going to happen. Like, chances are Mourinho will be gone by the end of next season. Is it really worth selling Ndombele? Because surely when Mourinho goes, you could bring in another new manager who would work better with the French midfielder, and then he'd be back to the player that you thought you were getting 1 season ago for 54 million. Anyway, it's all rather complicated, but who knows what's going to happen in the end at Spurs, especially with Daniel Levy in charge. But moving away from the transfers very quickly onto the Premier League, who did decide that they would try their best to complete the season, obviously be behind closed doors, but also at 10 neutral grounds around the country. This is something which mainly the relegated teams in the Premier League, but the ones in the lower half of the table, are really against. So much so they've named their one price for completing all the games behind closed doors. That is that they want relegation to be absolutely removed. this would be a massive, massive win for the likes of Norwich, who are pretty much down as it is. But anyway, the likes of Brighton and West Ham have been speaking, saying that it's really unfair they've got to play their first 28 or 29 games in front of a crowd, whereas in their last few games would be at a neutral venue. They're saying not only does it suck to be away from home and to be away from your home grounds and all your familiar surroundings and not really play the rest of the season, it damages the integrity. There's also the fact that sometimes, especially in Brighton's case, when they've got United, City, Liverpool, and I believe Arsenal at home in their last few fixtures, they're also going to need the crowd, or at least need their home feelings, to try and get these victories. It's not really going to work when you'll be playing at a neutral venue, and on top of this, some of the neutral venues might be the home stadiums for teams. So West Ham were like, cool, let's play the rest of the season behind closed doors. But if one of their stadiums is the venues, surely they're going to be getting an advantage. All of this leads to a massive, massive loss of integrity for the Premier League. And at this point, if they're really willing to have no relegation, which is basically one of the biggest questions that's left in the season, they might as well just not play the rest of the season. If they're not going to make much money from it anyway, apart from the sponsorship deals, they might as well just void it now, get the payout. Liverpool are champions, no one gets relegated, and who knows, maybe add a few teams to the Championship in for next season as well. Lastly but not least, we'll come to a quick roundup of the rest of the day's transfer news, where Bayern Munich star Thiago has said he'd love to finish his career with the Bundesliga champions. AC Milan are preparing a €35 million bid for Real Madrid star Luka Jovic. According to teammate Matt Ritchie, Jonjo Shelvey is good enough to play for Barcelona. And lastly but not least, Figo has said that he left Barcelona for Real Madrid because all the work he was doing was just not being recognised. Sounds a little similar to the Neymar situation. Anyway, there we have it. That is all from me for today on today's Daily News. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Smash the like button whilst you're there and click here or here to check out all of the other videos we've got going on Onefootball. But until next time, I will see you guys later.